Hello again there, everybody. This is going to be Jund League number 73. It's the same list as 72. I really liked it the first time around, so I'm just going to give it another run through and test a few different matchups. I think I'm fairly confident in the main deck 60, with maybe the exception of the third Kolaghan's command slot. Don't know why it's not zooming in. Come on, computer. Oh, wow. Fun. Magic Online is having a great time today. Anyway, OBS is still working. So, there we go. Okay, so now Magic Online caught up. Alright, so yeah, not super sure about this third Kolaghan's command slot. But other than that, I'm really liking this configuration. I think 23 lands is pretty much where I want to be. A lot of people like the 24th land, but I just haven't really had many issues not drawing lands. I know last league I had a couple. I mean, I think I just got uncharacteristically lucky where I would keep a 2-land hand. I just didn't see a land in the top 6 or 7, which was pretty unlikely. So I mean, hopefully that just doesn't happen again, and we just have a good league. I still think the spot removal is at a premium, so I'm playing 7 1-mana spot removal spells on top of the 6 hand disruption spells, and I'm still playing the split of 4 Inquisition, 2 Thoughtseize. But I'm thinking maybe I want to start doing a 3-3 split on these, because combo and big mana is kind of coming back, and the Thoughtseize takes Cryptic, whereas Inquisition does not, and that's a pretty big deal. Still really like Kroxa. Great versus the combo critical mass decks, and also obviously excellent versus mid-range and control. And those 2.5 wedges are pretty big parts of the format right now, so I think Kroxa is as good as it's been in a long time. And then obviously, if you've been here for any number of leagues, you know my opinion on Dark Confidant is really high. I can't speak highly enough of this card. It's my favorite card printed, so I might have some bias towards it. But it's one of the reasons why it's my favorite card ever made is because it's, I think, just very good, and especially right now. So yeah, that's my spiel on the main deck, and the sideboard I'm much less confident in than the main deck, but I still think the sideboard is pretty solid. I expect to have a fairly bad game 1 matchup versus big mana, so I've got 3 Wildfire, 3 Damping Sphere. If I play against combo or mid-range, I've got the 3 Spell Bombs, and depending on what they are, the Brutalities in some number, and also the Boil for the blue decks. And then I've got the Plague Engineer for a number of reasons. There are a few tribal decks running around, such as Elves and Spirits. And then obviously it comes in lots of less obvious places like Storm, where it's out to the Empty the Warrens plan. So that's what we've got going today. Let's look at the current modern metagame. It looks like Jund Shadow has finally passed Heliod Company as the #1 meta representation. I'm pretty excited about that. Along with Jund Shadow moving up the ranks, regular Jund, our hero, has also been moving up the ranks all the way up to 8th. And then we've still got Heliod Company at number 2, so still pretty popular, as well as Blue-White Control, be it Blue-White, Jeskai, or Esper. And then something kind of surprising and interesting is that Burn and Blitz have kind of fallen off, still pretty firmly in the top 10, so we still expect to see it more often than not. But they were previously 1 and 2 for a couple of weeks, so seeing them being lower represented is interesting. And then Tron and Dredge, unfortunately, also on the rise, but that may be a factor of Blue-White Control and Jund Shadow becoming popular, because these tend to have pretty okay matchups versus the more fair strategies. Alright, so let's just jump into the league. Vestafar, yeah, Bob Nation for sure. Hi, Vibro. Yes, back to my lists for sure. You're thinking of trying 3 Bob, 2 Ren? Yeah, that's probably pretty serviceable. I've just found that every time I draw Ren and 6, I just always wish it were a Bob. So there was a league that I did a while ago where I did a 4-1 split of 4 Bob to 1 Ren and 6, but honestly the only reason I played 1 Ren and 6 is I couldn't play the 5th Bob, you know? Dark Rule, Fiery Goggler, Vegetarian Rakdos. I think this is Vegetarian Rakdos. It's definitely primarily a black-red deck, like splashing Tarmogoyf and Bloodbraid. And then we got our one of Miser, Abrupt Decay. So that, yeah, out of those 3 options, this is looking like Vegetarian Rakdos. No Gargoths on the board. That thing costs 5. That's a lot of mana. It occupies a really weird slot where like the matchups that you want it in, you need to get to 5 lands, and like a lot of the time you don't even have the time to get to 5 lands to have it be good. Things like Prowess and Burn, for example. And obviously they'll be great versus mid-range decks, but I mean, there are pretty much anything would be a great top deck in a mid-range top deck war. Magic Online is having some issues today, huh? Looks like it likes to lag. We've got a keeper. Sand looks great. Cheap disruption, cheap interaction, cheap threats. Looking good. And the chat says they have played a Fiery Islet, but we don't yet see it. Okay. So it looks like Magic Online might just be having a good day. Maybe after this match I restart Magic Online, but I just turned it on, so it should be fine. Alright, and I do actually think I want to use this Inquisition here. I think one of the ways I could get overrun is the opponent has a bunch of quick threats that I can't necessarily answer all of. So the Inquisition is going to help, hopefully make sure that they can't just like make the board state super oppressive super quickly. I've got double Islet. So Lava Dart is interesting because it's possible that they can use the Lava Dart to save the Swift Spear, but I don't think it's interesting enough, especially in the presence without the presence of a mountain. So I think I'm just gonna take the Manamorphose. This deck can operate kind of as a critical mass deck, I think, because they play their Swift Spear and then they try to like overrun the board with a bunch of spells to make the Swift Spear big over the course of a turn, and Manamorphose can slow that down, as well as hopefully make sure that they can't find additional threats, which they've gotten lucky and found one anyway. So between the Swift Spear and the Sprite Dragon, I almost definitely just have to kill the Sprite Dragon, and I'll do it now before they can snag it back to hand. But yeah, them finding second threat here is pretty unfortunate. Jeez. Alright, I mean, if I can find an answer to this Swift Spear right now, there's a good chance that we'll just win. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It looks like I have to play Tarmogoyf and just make, like, it's just gonna get Vapor Snagged, which is pretty unfortunate, but I don't have a much better play here. I'll definitely get second Black down as opposed to Stomping Ground, because if I draw Liliana, I won't want to have to shock. So I'm going to be going to 1 here because Vapor Snag deals me 1. And then any mountain here kills me. They didn't have a mountain. Yeah, I mean, a mountain is still going to kill me. And there's the push, about a turn too late. Alright, well, I mean, I'm still going to kill this, right? I guess I get to play Tarmogoyf. And then I'll play a Stomping Ground tapped. And then I'll say go. And then I have to dodge literally every burn spell and even a mountain because Lava Dart would just kill me. Alright, that works. Yeah, I needed to find the removal a turn sooner. I was going to take the second threat with the Inquisition, but they didn't have a second threat, and them drawing one immediately was really unfortunate. Alright, so 3 Spell Bombs coming in, 3 Brutalities coming in. Plague Engineer is interesting because it can proactively answer the Sprite Dragon, but I think that's probably too weak. I definitely want to take out the Bobs versus the Lava Dart deck, and I also want to take out the 2 Thoughtseizes. I mean, that's a clean 6 in, 6 out. Probably just happy with that. The card that I guess would be coming out next would probably be Kolaghan's Command. 2 damage can kill something, but it's pretty unreliable, and having a 3 mana unreliable thing is not super exciting. No, I don't think Damping Sphere is good in this matchup. Like, it's going to be good only to stop, like, the more busted draws, but we've got plenty of pieces that already do that. And, like, when you get later into the game where, like, you really need to be finding threats or just more pieces of interaction to, like, insulate your life total, drawing a Damping Sphere will just do actual nothing. It's like, if you're going to stick it on turn 2, that's probably the only turn where it's going to be excellent. But pretty much everything else in the deck is going to be more than at least dead past turn 2. So gonna have to be concerned about Blood Moon here. So that would have been maybe a reason to bring in Wildfire over like some number of Kolaghan's commands, because like you could Wildfire yourself. Let's see if I have time. All right, yeah, I'll put 1. But yeah, no, I don't like the Damping Spheres. It just doesn't add to your clock, and it doesn't kill a thing. I'd rather just have a thing that is a clock or kill something, and all of these cards, with the exception of, I guess, exactly Spellbomb, does that. And I think Spellbomb is probably better than the Damping Sphere because Bedlam Reveler is a huge concern. This one is interesting. So we've got all of our lands to fetch around the Blood Moon. We've got double discard, but this hand needs a lot of help. Like, we need to find a threat quickly, and we need to find removal. I think this hand is needing too much. If one of these lands was literally any spell, even a Bloodbraid, I think I'd be keeping, but I think this hand just needs way too much. Alright, well, this is worse, obviously. This is better. I think I'm just going to bottom the most expensive thing, and then probably just another land. I'll plan on getting Swamp and a Stomping Ground. I wish I could keep my other hand now, because this hand's kind of the same. But I mean, kind of just an unfortunate start. The opponent finding the Sprite Dragon immediately was backbreaking. Alright, they've got double Manamorphose into the Stormwing, while the opponent is just, I think, getting the better draws here. This hand's kind of gonna be difficult. I do have the Terminate for the Stormwing. Okay, I mean, Goyf was almost certainly best case. Let's get the Stomping Ground as first green and first red. Play my threats, and then we've got some removal, so if we can leverage this Tarmogoyf, this is hopefully enough to get there. Unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of playing around Blood Moon right now. And I mean, Terminate is in the deck for pretty much specifically for the reason of trying to kill Stormwing, so it's going to come in pretty clutch here. And killing the Stormwing first means that we'll have creature in the yard, so Goyf is going to be able to attack for just a little bit more. They went bottom with the Scry. What's up, Udok? We're doing alright. Ooh, another Goyf. Is there any reason to just take the turn off to play another Goyf? I think the answer is no, given the opponent's hand is double Light Up the stage. Light Up is a play that I am pretty scared about. I think keeping the board clear is what I'm interested in, but the potential of second Goyf feels pretty attractive to me, because like I need to get the opponent dead. I'm just worried about all the damage they can do. I think I have to get the opponent's creature off of the board. And I think I'm actually going to attack, because maybe the opponent uses a Mutagenic Growth in conjunction with a block, and maybe I can eat the Mutagenic Growth as well. Alright, and before damage they haven't blocked, I'll go ahead and do the extra point by terminating. Alright, so they're going to get to light up the stage anyway. Brutal. Any burn spell would have done it, but it being a creature is even worse. Snag and a bolt. Well, they didn't hit a land, so if they haven't drawn a land... Okay. So I think the play here is going to be attack with Tarmogoyf, just play a second Tarmogoyf. Although if the opponent plays both of these spells, it could get hairy. The thing is, like, this Vapor Snag is gonna get used, and if I play Tarmogoyf, if I don't play Tarmogoyf, it's gonna the opponent's gonna be able to do a lot of damage to me really quickly, and I'm not gonna have time to climb back. I think I need to continue attacking. I could play second Tarmogoyf and just not attack with either. Then they'll probably Vapor Snag one, and then if they attack, I can block, and then I can trade the Goyf for the Swiftspear. But I don't think trading is something I'm very interested in. I think I'm gonna have to hope that the opponent continues choking on mana. So I think what I'm gonna do here is attack, play Goyf. I could definitely see the world where this starts to backfire. Like, I could just plan on playing Fatal Push here. But because a point towards that is that then Liliana Edicting could become better. But the opponent's at 11. I think I need to continue pressing on and just try to attack for as much as possible. Like, I think, like, my nut draw coming up would be something like a Blackleaf Cliffs, because then I could redeploy the Goyf if they get snagged and use the Fatal Push. So I'll lose one here. I'm losing one, so they get to use the Light Up the Stage pre-combat to buff. Yep. So let's hope they don't hit lands, because the way I'm staying ahead is the opponent just continues to be able only to cast a small number of spells each turn. Alright, so I would really love to draw an untapped red or green source so I can double spell. Just more Tarmogoyfs. Not exactly what I'm hoping for here. I mean, I guess I'm just going to play another Tarmogoyf and attack. Pretty rough mold of 5. This at least has the opponent needing to think about whether or not they're able to attack. They're going to play the Stormwing, presumably. Sorry, the Sprite Dragon. And then I don't think this is going to be enough to kill me. And, like, oh my god, are you kidding? You drew Relic? I was going to say, like, if I could Fatal Push the Swiftspear on a future turn, I may be able to surprise lethal them. It's another Relic. Oof. Do I block? I'm aware that blocking means that they just kill my Goyf, but I think I have to block to just not take 3 here, because then this Sprite Dragon is going to kill me very easily, and it turns on this Light Up the Stage. So I just have to throw a Goyf under the bus here. Pretty rough. They're at 5. If I draw a Bolt, I win. There's the Blackleaf Cliffs. So they no longer have the Sprite. Better late than never on that. So they can target they can target someone with the Relic. I think what this turn is gonna be is I have to Fatal Push the Swiftspear and connect with the Goyf to get them lower. They'll probably activate the Relic so that they don't take any damage. Or attempt to not take any damage. Alright, and then I'll kill this now. Since they're tapped out, they can't actually exile the entire yard. I'll get rid of my creature so that Goyf connects for 2. And I guess play another Tarmogoyf. We are running Bobs this league. They are not in for this game too. So the opponent has 1 unknown and Light Up the Stage. This Liliana is going to be able to Edict the Soul Scar. Ooh, we drew a Bolt. Alright, so that just kills him. Let's, I guess, not complicate it. There's no way they're playing, like, a life gain spell, so let's just throw this at the face. Sure. Alright, we mulled to 5, and I think we got there. Alright, we earned a game 3. The opponent is playing Relic of Progenitus, so maybe Bedlam Reveler isn't as big as a concern because they are a non-bow, but I played against an opponent last league who was playing both of those two cards anyway. I think I'm just going to keep it as is. Pretty unfortunate that most of my good threats involve the graveyards in some way. And Relic is pretty good versus those. Like, it's literally these two and Bloodbraid. I mean, I'm just going to have to play through it. Yeah, I think Soul Guy Lantern does make more sense with Bedlam Reveler. I mean, being able to exile all of the yard and draw the card is pretty big. And that's not the case for the Lantern. Also, Lantern only exiles the opponent's yard, which allows Glyph to stay big off of the opposing yard. We've got lots of good ways to interact, which is definitely a nice start. What I'm going to be afraid of now is being unable to find a threat. I think I really need to be able to find a threat. Alright, and I think what I want to do here is fetch a basic Swamp and cast Inquisition as an attempt to take the opponent's second threat. Or maybe we can take like a Manamorphose if there isn't a second threat to slow down a Stormwing. We do have the Terminate for a Stormwing, but we don't have an answer for a second Stormwing, for example. They have the Relic, they have a Mutagenic Growth, and a Light Up the Stage. This is actually an interesting pick. Relic is going to be really, really annoying, but this Light Up the Stage I think is going to be more problematic short term. I think I'm going to take the Light Up the Stage, but working through this Relic is going to be a really big problem. Let's take the Light Up. I definitely think it's not Mutagenic Growth, but it is a nice thing to know about because we've got this Lightning Bolt. Doing it now is curious. They're just trying to, I guess, get the guaranteed damage. I'll remove the land, I guess. Take 5, yep. Ravine. This is probably a fine turn to just get the Ravine down. I think I want to use the Bolt to kill the Swift Spear. They may have used this Mutagenic Growth as means of bluffing that they don't have another. But they could very easily have another Mutagenic Growth as their last card. I still think it's probably worth the risk to bolt this as opposed to pushing it. Because like, even if they do have the Mutagenic Growth, I can still kill it. The upside of just using the push is that I could get the Raging Ravine down this turn. And I think I'm actually going to do that. Because Bolt is an answer to a Stormwing entity. It's not a good one, but it does work. And Push can also go to the face in a racing situation. So I'll play the Ravine and plan on Fatal Pushing the Swift Spear. This game, I think, is really going to hinge on my ability to find a threat. And in the face of a Relic, the best case is definitely a Bloodbraid. Yeah, I'll remove my sorcery. Yeah, push is definitely the safer thing. And then waiting, I think, is also good because the opponent may act before damage in an attempt to grow the Swift Spear. Like this. I wonder if they'll flash it back as well. I doubt it. Yeah, they're not. I mean, I don't think the opponent's deck has a lot of closing power from like a burn deck perspective. They definitely need creatures to get over the finish line quickly. Like they could obviously just draw a crap ton of burn spells in a row, and there wouldn't be much I can do about it. But I've got a bunch of answers for creatures, and lands are not good draws. I think what I'm gonna do here is actually just play the Peatland, and then end step I'll cycle it. This puts me off of casting a Bloodbraid next turn, but I think finding something like a Bloodbraid is probably more of a pressing issue. So yeah, like if I had a threat here, I think this game would be much easier, but maybe not the case because my only good threats right now, given this relic, are pretty much just the Bloodbraids. They're darting me. So maybe this is a way to enable a Stormwing. Like that also makes some sense. Yeah, Kolaghan's command would be reasonable. Oh, and they do have the Stormwing. Alright, so I'll use the Lightning Bolt to attempt to kill it. If they've got something like a Mutagenic Growth, which was the subtle read before, maybe they were bluffing this Mutagenic Growth, then it'll be unfortunate, but we still have the Terminate as backup. Also, using the Bolt here allows me to still sacrifice the Peatland, which is nice. They don't have any Lava Darts in their yard. Another Bolt. I mean, removal is great. I just need to find threats. Alright, I mean, Kroxa is a threat, but Relic makes it look kind of silly. They've got one card left, so it's probably just worth to cast it anyway. It'll get consumed by the Relic. And it was just a Steam Dance, okay. Yeah, this line has worked out pretty well. And I think I will keep the Terminate for issue of future Stormwings or Bedlam Reveler. Bedlam Reveler would be pretty bad here. I guess they only have 3 spells at the moment. But I mean, if they use the Relic aggressively, it may become more difficult. I do have a Raging Ravine in play. That could be the way that I close this. I had discounted that originally. I think I'm just gonna throw the Bolt at this thing now. Because like if I draw Bloodbraid or something, I'm gonna want to untap and slam it. Also, like I have to kill this at some point anyway, so might as well be now. Yeah, this Ravine is gonna be a very real threat. There's the Bloodbraid though. Do I lose the 2 life in order to cast it now? I think the answer is more than likely yes. So it's perfectly timed. We want to hit an additional source of pressure or disruption here. There's the additional source of pressure. Pretty perfect. Alright, that was big. One of the things that I recently learned from Luis Scott Vargas on like some article that he wrote was you maximize your chances at getting lucky if you just assume that everything is going to work out the way you need it to. Alright, so Graveyard Tiny. I don't think I'm shocking to activate this Ravine here. And Kolaghan's Command makes me want to shock even less. In fact, maybe I just use this right now as a means of growing the Tarmogoyf. I'm going to add at least instant. I'm going to shock the opponent. They'll discard a card. So they'll go to 8 and take probably 5, putting them down to 2. Or sorry, 3. Math is a little difficult sometimes. That sounds pretty attractive. we hit a lava dart. Cool. Alright, so still only instant in the yard. Let's probably just attack. Is there any reason to leave something back? Because if they've got a haste creature, maybe I die. I could shock in the Overgrown Tomb to avoid that, but if I go to 7, we already know of the lava dart, so any 2 bolt effects would actually have me end up being dead. So I think it's the safest just to attack with the Bloodbraid, which maybe would have been something I wanted to think about before using the Skullagons command now, but I think it's just gonna be the safest to attack with just this. It's like, if they play a Swift Spear, I'm gonna want to block. Unless I'm willing to shock, and shocking is something I would like to avoid. And next turn, if we want, we've got the Ravine available. Okay. Suppose it ended up not mattering. But I mean, a snag is not a creature, and I'm happy about that. Sure. If they end up spiking a Stormwing, we've got the Terminate. They did hit it. Okay. So this Terminate has looked very, very good. Killing Stormwings in back-to-back games, which is one of the bigger reasons it's in the deck, as opposed to something like a Decay. Trophy would do it too, but giving the opponent a land is really, really bad, especially when they're already choked on mana and have Lava Dart. So Terminate is looking pretty perfect here. I could just attack first and try to bait out the block, because like they could Lava Dart me and grow their thing, but since they're at 5, I think I prefer just killing their thing now and putting them to 2. And then redeploying a Tarmogoyf. This is looking pretty good. And I'm gonna not sacrifice this fetch, because again, they could Lava Dart me. If I sack the fetch, that puts me to 6, and then I could just die to a top deck bolt if they've already got one. So I'm out of range as long as I don't sacrifice this, I think. Yeah. We did it. I think the one thing that I couldn't really fight from 8 is, like, what if they drew a Sprite, the hasty 1/1, and they like mutagenic growthed it and then Lava Darted me? Would that have been enough? Mutagenic is 2, Lava Dart is 1, Stormwing is 1, and the 2 triggers makes it 6. So that was actually short too. So yeah, I think it was just overall the safest to just not fetch there, because then I don't die to 2 bolts. Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to lead on basic Swamp in case they're playing Prowess or Burn or something like that, and then I can plan on the Foothills getting a Stomping Ground. Please don't be Tron. Please don't be Tron. Hope everybody is having a good Tuesday. To check, double check, make sure I knew what day it was. Alright, so I mentioned, let's just get the turn 1 Swamp. And if I knew I weren't playing against Swamp, playing against like Burn or Prowess or otherwise just any other aggro deck, I'd probably just get a Blood Crypt here, but since we don't know yet and I've got other lands, it's probably just safest to go with the Swamp basic. Ooh, we're playing against Blue-White Control. Alright, so I guess I'm just going to take Snapcaster, and then next turn, other Inquisition is going to target the one other card that I can. This hand is looking actually very good versus the opponent's deck, though. Jace and Cryptic are two of the better cards against me though, so that much makes me nervous. I need to find more lands at some point. Perfect. We found the land, so it's Jeskai. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be playing around that Stifle card. If they draw exactly that, you got me. Tails End is the card I'm trying to think of. Liliana? Not a Liliana, but it is another land for Bloodbraid. So let's lead on the Kroxa here. Don't think there's a reason to really hold up this Terminate. There goes a Plains. Take 3, and then I'll play this tapped. So things are going well so far. Eventually I will want to escape this Kroxa, which means I'm going to need to find a red source. Alright, so their hand is Cryptic, Jace, +2. Bolt is nice. That could be a way to help combat Jace. Like, let's just play Bloodbraid, I suppose. It makes them playing Planeswalkers a little bit more awkward, and also if they got something like Mana Leak or Remand, Bloodbraid is pretty much the best thing to cast into that. Wow. Dark Confidant has to be our best possible. They could obviously have a Bolt or a Helix, but if they're going to take the turn off to do that next turn, that they're not holding up Cryptic or a Jace. So the worst case now would be that they've got the Bolt immediately. There are 2 cards we don't know about, so completely possible. Oh, they didn't have it. Alright, so if they hold up Cryptic Command or slam the Jace, Dark Confidant's going to start triggering, which is a good spot to be in versus counterspells. Oof, we did it. Feels good. Feels good. Oh, that one's great. Okay. I guess I just lead on attack here. A Snapcaster would be annoying, but they don't actually have anything to flash back, and that actually would be make me able to use a Terminate. I think the best use for Terminate is probably killing something dorky like a Snapcaster. Terminate, I think, is going to be one of the cards that ends up coming out. And then they're just holding up Cryptic Command. I see no reason to do anything here. And then also, next turn I'll have the option of escaping Kroxa as long as one of these cards gets cast. So I think I'll just play this tapped. If I shock it in, I can hold up 2 of these spells. But assuming Dark Confidant is going to live for a little while longer, I want my life total to be high so it has the potential to be the best it can be. So I think I'll just play this tapped. And then hope they don't have something ridiculous. Like the worst case would be a flash creature here. I don't know what it would be, but even if they do have it, we've got plenty of ways to kill it. This might just be like a bounce draw. Probably on the Dark Confidant. Yeah, okay. I could bolt my own Confidant to deny them the card, but I think that's probably a little bit excessive. I'd rather just be able to play the Bop again. They're getting low, and we've got 5 points of burn. Kroxa also threatens some amount of burn. So it's looking good. Colonnade, interesting. So I think what I actually want to do here is Kolagon's command. I can buy back Kroxa, have the opponent discard, and then next turn I can replay Kroxa and have them discard again. The thing is, I don't want to leave myself soft to this Jace. They would have to deal with Bloodbraid and this Lightning Bolt. Udok, thanks for the resub. I appreciate it. Make sure you get use of those emotes. Oh, I see you already have, actually, so good job. Yeah, I don't think I'm burning the opponent here. I mean, if they take the hit and they let this Bolt and the Kolagons can resolve mode, if this is a 2 damage mode, I do have just lethal, and I don't think they have a burn spell, at least in 2 of the cards that I don't know of, because they would have bolted or otherwise removed the Bob instead of just bouncing it. So I think it's pretty likely that this Kolaghan's command resolves in a way that I want it to. So let's fire it off. I just don't know if it's 2 damage or you discard. It's literally any of these 3 could be good. I think it's going to be 2 damage you discard, because that really makes them have to keep up counter magic for the duration of the game, or else they could just die if they don't find the lightning helix. So I'll do 2 to you, you discard. Discarded a land, yep. So I'll lead on attack. That puts the onus on them. And then maybe it gives me a window to resolve Kroxa and Bob. We're definitely applying a lot of pressure. Wow, they just go to 3 here. I could go for the escape on Kroxa, but that taps me out of red, so I can't like try to like bolt them in response. So I think what I'm gonna do here is just play Dark Confidant and see if they respond, and then end step I'll try to bolt them. And then, assuming they counter that, which they're going to have to, I can then Kroxa, and I'll have a huge board versus nothing. The only issue then is I may become soft to a Supreme Verdict. I think it's still probably worth it to play the Bob here. And I'm going to leave up double red, because if my Bolt gets remanded or something, I'm going to want to be able to recast it. Bob time indeed, yes. Is it Jace time? So now that they've tapped out for Jace, I think I'm gonna wait to bolt them until they activate this. I don't want them to find the counter spell, but yeah, now that they're actually activating it, I'll attempt to shoot them. Sick. Alright, Jeskai control. I think this matchup is probably pretty even, all things considered. I want the spell bombs. I definitely want Boil. And I think I want the brutality in some number. The discard is probably going to be good. I think I'm going to cut an Inquisition because brutality does a similar job. And Thoughtseize takes Cryptic Command, whereas Inquisition does not. The one bad thing about taking out Inquisition as opposed to brutality is that Inquisition can take Snapcaster. Alright, so I mentioned wanting to bring out Terminate. I didn't see anything that I'm super worried about as far as Decay is concerned, but it is likely that the opponent brings in Teferi Time Reveler, and Decay is one of my better answers to that other than just attacking it. I actually tend to dislike Liliana to some extent because it's weak versus like Snapcaster, Shark Typhoon, Cryptic Command. Let's definitely cut all of the Fatal Pushes. I think I would like to keep the Decay just as an out to a few troublesome permanents. This has me needing one more cut. And given that the opponent is Jeskai as opposed to Blue-White, I would usually cut a Kolaghan's Command versus Blue-White since a lot of the removal is exile-based. But since a lot of this opponent's removal is going to be Lightning Bolt and Helix-based, Kolaghan's Command buying back a creature is going to be a relevant mode a lot of the time, as opposed to not. I might just cut another Lightning Bolt here. Bolt is going to be one of my weaker cards. There's not a whole lot that I actually have to kill, but Bolt can go after Planeswalkers in order to finish them. We did not see the Stoneforge package, but I think we're well prepared for it, given the Bolts and the Kolaghan's commands. I would love to keep all of these Bobs, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep all the hand disruption that I've got. It's looking like it might just be a Bolt. We haven't seen the Stoneforge package. In the event that we see it in the next game, then I'm likely to bring another spot removal spell back in. But if they're just playing Jeskai control without Stoneforge package, I think it's going to be good to take a Bolt out. Yeah, this hand has a lot of my good cards in it. A little awkward that we've got 2 basics because the opponent may be playing Path to Exile, but it's actually not super likely that they are. Hopefully they don't force me to get my other basics out of the deck super quickly. Another Liliana is actually kind of fine. I might want to wait on the Inquisition to pair it with something a little bit that I'm actually trying to resolve. But I think it's probably pretty safe just to fire it off now. I've got additional sources of disruption to pair with stuff later. They've got Helix, Purge, and then lands in Teferi. I guess I'm taking the Lightning Helix. Purge relevantly hits the Lilianas. We're not playing Ren and 6, so it doesn't hit those. It also hits Bob. Like, Helix puts whatever it kills into my yard, but it also gains them 3 life, and I think I have to be the beatdown deck, so 3 life actually pretty relevant. I think I'll take the Helix. And then next turn I'll probably just fire off the Brutality to hit the Purge. I don't think I'll be escalating. So I'd really love to find a black source that is also a red source. Thoughtseize is great, though. Thoughtseize is going to enable us to take this Teferi. I think I still want to use the Brutality. We know we're hitting something good. And then in the off chance the opponent has found the counterspell here, we can maybe just take the counterspell to clear way for the Thoughtseize. And then, like, next turn, I could double spell even if I don't hit a land, because I can play Spellbomb off of Forest and cast Thoughtseize. Alright, it's just lands and Teferi. So a land next turn would be best case. I guess they'll just play a Colonnade here. They played Arid Mesa. That is worrisome, because that could mean they've drawn Archmage's Charm. Land? Alright, well I got the red source at least. Basics are awkward though. Alright, I still think I'm gonna take it. If they've got Archmage's Charm now, they're gonna have it next turn as well. Alright, they didn't, thankfully. It just might have been a tiny bluff that they were doing. Second Triome is cool. Any land lets us Bloodbraid, which is going to be nice. Come on, lands. Need a black source. Perfect. So Colonnade gets to one-shot Liliana's, assuming Liliana is only at 4. So if I play Liliana now, I could just plus discarding other Liliana, which gets it both out of Colonnade and burn range. The issue is the opponent doesn't actually have anything super relevant that I want them to discard anyway. So I think I'm just going to cast Bloodbraid. And then what we're looking for here is another source of pressure. So Dark Confidant would be the absolute best. Tarmogoyf would also be acceptable. Kroxa also acceptable. Discard is going to be worst case. We hit the Decay. Brutal. Alright, so we hit one of our few actual dead cards. It might have been the only actual dead one, actually. We took out the Terminate and the pushes. So that might have been the literal only one. Draw 2? Yep. Thoughtseize is good. Let's lead on attack. The opponent is beginning to have good Snapcaster targets. If I play a Liliana here, and the opponent has a Snapcaster, it's a pretty big disaster because then I can't Spellbomb and draw the card. So I think this is actually a turn where I'm wanting to Thoughtseize. This also is going to give us some information on whether or not next turn the Liliana is clear to land. Purge, sure. Do we hit anything? We hit a Verdict. They've got just more lands. So I think I actually want to pop the Spellbomb now, because if I hit a Goyf, I can just cast it now, which is something I'm interested in. We did it. Sick. And Bolt does not kill it, because that would be the third type, now the fourth type. So they've got a Plains and one Unknown. A land. Alright, well, let's lead on attack. Maybe a small misstep, because if the Liliana gets hard countered, that would have been an additional point of damage that I could do. I'll play the Liliana here anyway. I'm not going to compound the error by just not doing it, because I'm embarrassed. Alright, and then it just resolved. I am going to plus to get it out of burn range. And I'll just ditch the land. This land may be important because it's the land that we need to escape Kroxa, but I think having a backup Liliana might just be better. I expect the opponent to ditch a Plains, yep. But yeah, if I could rewind a minute, I would have definitely gone for Liliana first. And then like if the opponent goes like counter bounce Goyf, I have the land to replay the Goyf anyway. They are still able to activate Colonnade to shoot Liliana down if they would like, but that puts them really under the gun. And they bottomed with the Opt. Bolt is interesting. So there's already instant. There is not yet Planeswalker in the graveyard though. So if I plus Liliana, ditch Planeswalker, and I get to connect, we get to kill the opponent right here. And it looks like it's gonna work. Alright, Goyf is a 5/6. I guess they do have Colonnade. But I mean, if they're gonna block with a Colonnade here, that also feels like a good spot to be in. Alright, so we get to kill him. Zap. Nice. 2-0. Yeah, pretty good start. I mean, 2-0 is the best possible start, right? Yeah, spam those bobs in chat. That's right. That's right. Please show bobs. Too bad not 2040, yeah. I'm so bad, I can't even 2040. Wow, look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. I say as my hand just doesn't line up versus the opponent at all. Hardened scales. Okay. Fatal Push is going to be pretty good, as will Dark Confidant pretty likely. So I'm going to have to fetch Shock next turn anyway to play a Bob. So I'm going to lead on Verdant Catacombs here, because in the off chance that we don't have to Fatal Push something here, we will have effectively not wasted 2 life. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's get Stomping Ground. My hand's pretty black heavy, so if I get Stomping Ground here, I'll have Black Leaf Cliffs here, and I can always just fetch basic Swamp with the Maya, which should satisfy all of my black requirements pretty easily. So Walking Ballista is the thing that would punish me the most for just casting a Dark Confidant here. But I guess Walking Ballista doesn't kill Tarmogoyf. It's pretty much only that I'm worried about. Let's play the Bob, because like in the likely chance that this survives, I'm gonna really wish I had been able to get it into play. And then next turn, I think I'll probably not Liliana. I'll probably just play Goyf as an additional source of pressure, and then I can have my Fatal Push to interact. But yeah, this Throne of Geth could be pretty scary with Hardened Scales. I think like the thing that I'm worried most about is Hangerback Walker. That's fine. Oh, this is gonna get scary, I think. Bob triggered. Nice. Nice. I still think what I want to be doing is double spelling. Like if I Liliana minus, this Inkmoth is just gonna become pretty large. I think what I actually want to do is attack here. There's no way the opponent is able to block, and if they do block and attempt to put stuff onto the Inkmoth, I could just kill the Inkmoth with the Fatal Push, and then they're left with nothing. And leaving the opponent with nothing is pretty attractive when I've got lots of Edicts in the queue. So let's attack. Yeah, almost at Exodia. I just need one more Tarmogoyf. They can sacrifice an artifact to proliferate, right? Which means like they could put another counter on here, but if they're sacrificing the Ozolith or just the throne itself, I'm pretty happy with that. If they activate Inkmoth and sacrifice that, I'm also happy with that, because then I can just push the Arcbound anyway. So I think an attack is still good. Liliana of the Yale. Yeah, I saw that too, which is it's pretty funny. Alright, so let's just play a Tarmogoyf here, and then I can leave up a Revolted Fatal Push. Yeah, this deck is pretty scary. They can go from a very tiny creature to killing in one hit fairly easily, and it's scary. But I think I've made the right plays, at least so far. So whenever one or more counters are put on a permanent you control, you may pay 1 if you do create a servo. And then pay 3, choose a count, and you can proliferate one thing. Alright, so dangerous. Do I want to kill the Arcbound Worker in response? If I kill Arcbound Worker in response, it prevents the modular after they put it onto the Inkmoth from making a 1/1. Would they be able to just kill me here if I kill the Arcbound Worker? So they can, I guess, sacrifice. They'd have to activate Inkmoth. They can sacrifice the Arcbound Worker to the throne. They would put 2 counters. So this only counts for creatures. They would put two counters on the Inkmoth, but since it's Hardened Scales, they'd be 3. There would be 2 things removed. So that means that this would get 2 counters, and then at their combat they can put another 2, which means they're putting another 3. So at that, assuming my math is correct, Inkmoth would become a 7/7 on attacks. which means I am dead to it on future turns. I think I need to keep the Fatal Push as a way to interact with the Ink Moth, unfortunately. Emery. Emery is interesting. That's something I can push as well. Goyf gets pretty big. So I've got an interesting line where maybe I don't even want to use this push here. I'm going to be able to use the push next turn in conjunction with an Edict. And unless the opponent draws exactly another artifact, I think I'm okay. Like, even if they draw an artifact, I think I'm fine, right? So let's assume I play this Liliana. I Edict to the opponent. They sacrifice Arcbound Worker. They put 3 counters onto Inkmoth. 2 go here. They put another 3. That's 7. If they sacrifice the Emery to the Liliana, and then I've got the Fatal Push to kill the Arcbound Worker, I should be just fine there as well. Because this would still be a 7/7. They can play, let's say they play any creature that enters with a counter would enter with 2 counters. Then I think the Ozolith would just kill me though. So I think any creature that enters with counters would have me potentially dying if I just empty the board now. I think I'm just gonna empty the board. I'm gonna use this Fatal Push now, I think, because if I draw an additional 1 mana interactive piece, it's gonna be very good for me. And then I guess I can just kill the Emery now, in case I don't want to revolt next turn for whatever reason. Like, I've got their Revolt now, might as well use it. Come on, Bob. Can I get 1 mana interactive piece? Not quite. So if I cast Bloodbraid, I'm far from lethal. If I go Liliana Edict here, they make the play that I've already outlined a couple times, which is their Inkmoth can become as big as a 7/7 at their pre-combat. I mean, if they proliferate sooner rather than later. So, like, they can sacrifice an artifact. They could sacrifice just, like, the throne to itself and proliferate, which would have this going up to a 4/4. They could then pay the 1 to make a 1/1 to block the Goyf. So I think it actually just makes sense to attack first, and then if the opponent doesn't block, I can then empty their hand and then just cast the Tarmogoyf. I think also just applying as much pressure as possible is going to be pretty good. And I don't think I'm attacking with the Bob any longer. I mean, attacking with the Bob would maybe force them to go for the Proliferate now, but I think Bob is something I'm not wanting to trade off quite yet. I think I want to get another card off of it. Okay. So now I can empty their hand and play Goyf. If I empty my hand, if I play Kroxa and Goyf, I have to tap out, which means the opponent would be green lighted to go. Are they able to kill me from here if they find an artifact? They can play artifact, sacrifice the artifact to proliferate, put 2 counters here. That's 4. They can then, I guess they would have another. They would have to have this die somehow, right? So they'd have to actually sacrifice this, which means they can put 2 counters here, which would be 3, and then 2 go here, and then another 3, which is 7. So if they draw a creature that enters with counters, I would die, assuming I tap out. They're playing Arcbound Worker. They're playing Walking Ballista. They're playing Hangerback Walker. They've already used 1 Arcbound. I guess Arcbound Ravager would work as well. So that's like roughly a quarter to a third of the opponent's deck that would just kill me. The thing is, though, I can't actually defend against it anyway. This is just me putting shields down. I think the opponent is going to go for it no matter what if I deploy other Tarmogoyf, because like they're going to be dead very soon anyway. So I think they're just going to go for it. If I play Goyf and just hold up the other 2 mana, and if that's the case, I think I'm just gonna basically tap out here and then cross my fingers that the opponent doesn't draw the 1/3 of the deck that I'm scared about. So let's lead Kroxa, not tapping my green. There's a stone coil, so I would have died assuming no interaction. And as long as I have not messed this up somehow, I should be okay. And I think getting basic swamp makes the most sense here, because if I draw another fatal push, I may want to be able to edict and cast that as well. So as long as there's not some line that I haven't thought of, which is very easily possible, I think I should be good. Maybe they can proliferate before the Ozolith counters go off, right? That would work. Yeah, I think I'm just dead then, right? So yeah, I must have done the math wrong somewhere. Yeah, because this is gonna add 4 counters, right? So where did my math go wrong? This only counts for counters on creatures. So I don't know. Oh, because they proliferated it. Sure. I guess I thought about their line twice, and in both cases I forgot about like the actual proliferate. We're dead, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe I needed to bluff the interaction. All right, Plague Engineer gonna be great. Wildfire gonna be good. Don't think I want Brutality. You don't think Ozolith and Muddler? Which one's Muddler? But yeah, they're very, very good together. Whatever you're talking about, like the opponent needed every piece they had in order to kill us. Liliana's do not look very good. I think I also want to cut a Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize and Inquisition is going to be very good on the play, so maybe I should find a way to get this Thoughtseize back in here. Maybe Kroxa is just one of our weaker things. Yeah, let's take out Kroxa and keep all the discard. Let's go first. We've got at least one of the Thoughtseizes that we decided to keep in. Yeah, I think I'm keeping. We've got lots of good ways to interact, but I need to find a way to win. They've got the Hardened Scales, they've got the Module, and they've got the Ozolith, and they've got the Hangerback. This hand is very good against me, but I think I've got to take the Namesake card. This is a green source, right? As is Botanical Sanctum. So there is the Animation Module and the Botanical Sanctum. Goyf is excellent. So I could play Goyf here. Actually, no, I can't. I don't have untapped green. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cast Thoughtseize and take the Ozolith. Or probably the Ozolith. And then I'll play the Ravine tapped. I guess we could just see what's in their hand before deciding whether or not I want to hold up removal. So they've got Inkmoth, 2 lands, Hangerback, and the Ozolith. So I've got removal for the creatures. The issue is that Hangerback is so dirty against me. It is much worse without the Hardened skills, though. The Ozolith is really good for kind of the combo-y finishes, and the removal is going to be pretty good at defending against those combo-y finishes, so I actually think I'm just going to take the Hangerback here. Because like my removal is going to be really good versus the Ozolith. The Ozolith is worded pretty well, though. Like, they can target a creature, and then in response to me killing that creature, they can just not move the counters. Yeah, it's a mace. Like, I can just kill it, and then they could just not. Alright. Them drawing a creature is pretty annoying. Alright, I mean, Blackleaf Cliffs is going to allow us to sneakily hold up some removal. Yep. Would love to find one of my 3 copies of Kolagon's Command. Don't think I'm going to use any removal quite yet. Ooh. So this is a Construct. This is a Servo. This is a Blink Moth. Do I want to just shut off the Blink Moth? I mean, this is going to continue to put servos into play, which is quite annoying. But servos I can push through at some point. It's going to be much harder to deal with the various Ink Moth lines. So I think what this is going to end up doing is just naming Ink Moth. Do I attack? I think I do. The way this could maybe go wrong is if the opponent activates Ink Moth in response to Modular, but even then I could just use a removal spell. And then this is pay 3 to proliferate 1 thing. I think I'm still naming Ink Moth. Or sorry, Blink Moth. And then I can shock this to hold up removal. Kind of tells the opponent I have removal. That's probably fine. I still think I'm just going to hold up double removal. It'll suck if I draw something that costs 3, because then I can't do everything. But still probably fine to hold back in the event I don't draw something that costs 3, and I haven't, so that's okay. I can't attack with Engineer, because they can proliferate 1 thing. I guess I could just attack both, because if the opponent activates the module, I get to just like kill the Arcbound Worker in response. I feel like it's probably just fine to hold this back to keep the servos at bay, though. Alright, sure. Do I want to allow this to become a 2/2? It's probably just fine. Well, they're actually going to make a bunch of servos, though, right? If I don't just kill this now. Yeah, let's kill this now. Let me not tap out of green. They'll make only 1 servo instead of 2 this way. And their modular will get semi-wasted. I'll play the land. If I draw Liliana's, I'm going to want to be empty-handed. Although, how many of the Lilianas did I take out? I took out all of them, didn't I? Yeah. Yep. So this is tap it, put a counter on a target colorless creature that entered this turn. I really don't want to have to push this thing. I guess they're just not attacking, which makes it a little easier to not have to. Bolt is nice. Guess I'm still just leading on attack. Can't attack both because want this thing to live. I guess like if I get this thing dead first, I can attack both. I think that is something I'm interested in. They get to pay 3 and put another counter on this to put more counters on the Ozolith. They don't have the one to pay right now. I think I want to use the push as opposed to the bolt, because the bolt can go face in case I need to win a race. But if something gets big, bolt never touches it. Only fatal push does. So I would have to like hold up the spell to respond with if I decide to use the bolt now, or if I decide to use the push now, because bolt doesn't kill everything. I think I do want to attack with the engineer, so I guess I'll just use the bolt. It's gonna put counters back on the Ozolith, which is definitely annoying. Oh, I'm an idiot. I just talked about how this was possible and I just like forgot about it. Crap. Alright, well, I'm still going to attack. Now I can't attack with the engineer. Yeah, that's just me being stupid. Big rip. Do I just push the servo now that the board is empty? The issue is like I guess that they won't be able to pay the one to put counters here, but then when the counters get moved back to like Inkmoth, they're just gonna get another one anyway. Yeah, I gotta hold it. That was definitely wrong what I did. I feel like I make a misplay every. I feel like I punt a game every league now. I gotta stop doing that. Yeah, maybe Servo would have been a better name. I mean, I still have a lot of draws that could put me ahead. Kolazon's Command would be the one I think about the fastest. This can be a 2-2 because of the Oran Reef. I think I have to kill this because I don't want them getting another 1-1. This puts shields down to the Inkmoth, which is pretty unfortunate. Any other creature here would also be bad for me. Yep. I think I'm dead. If I find Kolaghan's Command, I have a shot. But if I don't, I'm feeling really bad. I mean, that can rename Servo. Do I attack first? I don't think so, because then they can just move this over here. Alright, and I guess now I attack. Yeah, I think I should have, in hindsight, named Servo the first time as well. They've drawn a lot of lands, that's good for me. So now whenever they proliferate with the animation module, the 1/1 that they can make just immediately dies. So I think what the play is here. Yeah, they're gonna try to kill me next turn. So I'm gonna have to find a way to kill this Inkmoth. Kolaghan's Command, please. Yikes. Kolaghan's Command, please. Nope. Bummer. Alright, so I miscalculated the lethal math in game 1, and then I just straight punted game 2. Feels bad. I feel like that's one of the matchups that it should be good, but I just keep losing to it. That might just be my lack of experience, though. Yeah, sounds good. Looking like Overgrown Tomb into Basic Mountain, we can cast almost everything. The opponent is mulliganed. Please don't be Tron, please don't be Tron. Hooray! What is this, though? Ooh, Amulet. Okay. Alright, well, I've got Mountain in hand, which means Verdant is the better fetch, so I'll lead on Mire. I've been wanting to play against Amulet. I'm pretty 50-50 against it as far as history goes. I've got the Fatal Push for whatever the creature here is. If they've got one. Explore. Bummer. Alright, well, they could still have a creature. Zusa. Alright, so in response to a trigger, I'm going to kill that. I'll still get the Overgrown Tomb. That casts Fatal Push just fine. Yeah, and I definitely want to do this here because the opponent would get another land drop if I didn't hit it here. Oh wow, they didn't have anything to do with that mana. That's pretty big. All right, well, I mean, I guess I'm gonna use this turn to get my Dark Confidant down. Hopefully, find some copies of Inquisition and Thoughtseize. Maybe even Kolaghan's Commands to kill this Amulet. The other option is hold up a Terminate for a potential other copy of Azusa. But it's hard to not just stick the Bob now. Opponent's got a tropical island here. Ghost Quarter is fine. Bob doing things. Revealing more Bobs. Alright, I really want to start working at the opponent's hand. They've got 4 mana's worth of lands in play. If I play Liliana and plus, they'll go down to 1 card, which means if they're going to cast Titan next turn, they have to both have an untapped land that produces 2. I mean, all of their lands produce 2. So they'd have to have a land that makes 2 and the Titan. I don't think they have the land that produces 2 because they probably would have just played it instead of the Ghost Quarter. So if I play Liliana now and plus instead of minusing, they could then attack my Liliana down to 2, and I can still use it as an Edict. But I think I might just throw the Bob under the bus so I can keep the Liliana around. Because like a Liliana ultimate is a pretty good way to get the Titan deck off of just winning the game. So I think I actually like Liliana Plus, and I might even just use the Terminate on the Dryad in order to continue plussing the Liliana. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Liliana Plus. And then I'll throw Bob under the bus. We've got more Bobs. It'll be fine. I do have a few red spells, so I think I'm going to get Blood Crypt here to make my mana a little bit better. It'll be unfortunate if the opponent has like a Dryad line that ends in a Valakut killing us by Xaxes, but I think it's unlikely at this stage. And then I guess I'll just pitch third copy of Bob. I'm happy just having a second. So as long as the opponent doesn't keep either a Titan or a 2-mana bounce land and then draw the half that they're missing, we should be good here. They've discarded a bounce land. Interesting. So we need to dodge one of the 2 pieces of the combo, assuming they already have the other piece. Alright, and I really want to be able to hopefully ultimate this thing, so let's throw Bob under. We have avoided it. Sick. Land is gonna let us Blood Braid as well. So let's lead plus. And now I guess I'm just pitching the Lightning Bolt, because what I want to do here is cast Dark Confidant and Terminate. So I'll probably get basic Swamp, play my 2/2 drops, and then have the 4 drop for next turn. They discard another Dryad. Interesting. Alright, this is looking promising. The opponent could still just rip other half of the combo, assuming they've got one of the 2 pieces. They may have just kept a Dryad in their hand as a way to insulate the half of the combo that they already have. So like a discard spell would be great. There's an Inquisition. Alright, so I mean, if the half of the combo that they have is a Summoner's Pact, this will be good. But if they've also just kept something in their hands to insulate versus the Liliana, this should be good. They do have a pact. Interesting. I mean, their next turn is going to be used. Oh, just 2 Titans. So yeah, I was right. Their next turn is going to be used paying for the pact, so they don't just die though. And then we're going to get to ultimate them. So this is looking like we just win. We hit another Liliana. Alright, well, unfortunately, I'm not casting that because I'd rather keep the one that's going to ultimate next turn. Dark Confidant was very strong this game. A Renin 6 would not have been very strong here. Yeah, and then an ultimate should put it out of range. I'll put it like Growth Chamber and land, and then the Amulet and whatever other 2 lands they've got. Alright, so now we get to bring in our good sideboard cards. if the opponent is playing, it has a Dryad in play, Boil just kills all of the lands, which is kind of cool. I definitely want the Cleansing Wildfires and the Damping Spheres. Brutality might be nice for taking exactly Summoner's Pact, but I don't think it has another very good use. Let's take out... probably some number of Lightning Bolts. I think Push is probably better than Bolt because Push kills Dryad. They're playing a combo deck, so I like usually cutting off of the top. Also, bringing in another 4 makes me not want to invert my curve by a whole lot. I think I'm going to cut one Kroxa. We are going to have to be worried about Obstinate Baloth, which is something that could be Summoner's Pacted for. I think I have to keep all of my cheap 2-mana threats. Kolaghan's Command seems pretty good here because we are able to actually kill Amulet with it, which seems like it's going to be its best case use. I think on the draw, I'll cut another Liliana. We did win with the Liliana there, but we were on the play, which definitely was contributing to that. Maybe I just cut another Kroxa. All of my other 2-mana threats are going to be good. And I mentioned I wanted to like kind of shave off of the top because they're a combo deck and I don't really want to tap out when I don't have to. And Kroxa is effectively a 4-drop. Let's give this a go. Yes, hand's good. A little awkward that we've got a tap lands here, but we've got three very good sideboard cards and a way to deal with Amulet. The opponent is mulligan to 5 additionally. I'll very likely just lead on Raging Ravine on turn 1. I think the only thing that would change that is if I draw a discard spell on my first draw step, because then I could just play that off of Blackleaf Cliffs. And then the Wildfires I'm going to almost exclusively use on the lands that would produce 2 mana. Yeah, that's another good point. Like we don't really have any, I guess, proactive threats. So like we're not losing much by playing Ravine on 1, and it's actually pretty likely that even if I did have a threat, I'd likely play my disruptive stuff. Even before I play the threat anyway, especially because the opponent is so low on lands. They've got Amulet. Okay. Alright, well, yeah, we'll just Ravine on 1 here. Vestige is a cool way to get around Damping Sphere-like effects, because like, you could still make 2 mana, and same with Wildfire, right? I mean, they've already used it, so I guess it's not actually a factor anymore. And then I'm gonna put a premium on killing this Amulet here. They could have Veil of Summer, which is a concern. All right, well that's gonna be a concern. Veil of Summer is gonna get Inquisition as well. So I think what I'll do here is I'll probably just attempt to cast Abrupt Decay on the opponent's upkeep. So that way, if they do have the Veil, they at least have to do it on their own turn. Sick. Alright, and that looks like my first Cleansing Wildfire target. We drew the land, too. So now I get to Inquisition on top of all of this, which feels like it's going to be pretty nice. I mean, we could very easily brick, but if we get to hit anything, I'll be very happy. Darn. Alright, so the opponent's hand is mostly lands and a Titan. Wildfire drawing cards is pretty nice. Ooh, and Liliana's very good. Maybe we can get them off of a Titan before they can empty their hand, which would be ideal. Teleria West gets played. Okay. So this looks like a good a turn as any to play the Liliana. Goyf is interesting, but I think I still like attacking the hand. The opponent is 2 lands away from Castle Garenbrig, ramping them into 6. So if I can Liliana now and then Wildfire the castle next turn, I think that's going to be a good way to attack the Titan plan. And then as far as the plus is concerned here, I think I'm good just discarding a Fatal Push. If they've got exactly Dryad, I'm going to want to have kept the Push as opposed to the Bolt. Bolt can go face to win a race, though. I actually don't think this is going to come down to a race. It's going to be I get to ultimate or I don't. So I think I'm just going to want to more reliably kill Dryad as opposed to not. So I'll keep the Push and discard the Bolt. And hope they haven't drawn Baloth. I guess we knew the hand at least now because they played Teleria West, which we didn't know about. There's the breeding pool. Yep. Alright, so the opponent is under the impression that they'd be able to Titan coming up. Oh, and Kolaghan's Command is really interesting, because like this could be an additional way to pressure the opponent's hand. So let's lead on plus. Ditch. I guess now it's just Fatal Push. It's probably Fatal Push or Damping Sphere. I want the Goyf as a way to actually close. And I think I want the Kolaghan's Command as an additional way to pressure the opponent's hand. And I'm definitely going to use the Wildfire here. I guess if I'm not using Wildfire, I'm playing Ball. Ball also kind of nukes the castle and future bounce lands. So maybe it is actually just better to play the Wet Ball here. The plus side of playing the Wildfire as opposed to the Damping Sphere, though, is that Wildfire is going to draw a card. Maybe I just ditch the push. Goyf is going to outsize Dryads anyway, so maybe I just want to keep as many hate pieces as possible because they are so good so often. So yeah, let's ditch a push. And then it might actually be the play to play Sphere anyway, because like if we hit Cleansing Wildfire Castle Garenbrig, the opponent could just draw another Castle Garenbrig and play Titan anyway, and Damping Sphere is going to ensure that that isn't a possibility. And then I can save Wildfire for, I guess, something else. So yeah, definitely going to pitch the push. Hopefully the opponent is going into the tank hoping that I don't have another way to disrupt their lands. So their hand is Slayer, Stronghold, and Prime Time. So now I get to Wet Ball. And they can't Titan next turn no matter what. Makes it colorless. So now I get to Liliana plus again, and then Kolaghan's Command can kill the Titan. Or I could, I guess I can't boil because they only have one island, and I actually have 3 lands in play. So I'll have the opponent discard a card and shock them. And then Liliana can have them discard the final card. Sick. Yeah, and then we get Ultimate Liliana, and that puts them far off of anything, and then Goyf can close really quick. Quickly, I guess. Still upset that I messed up that third match. Maybe we'd be 4-0. And we get to go first. Sick. Yeah, this is a keeper. It's a bit slow, but we can interact as early as turn 2. And then we've got Goyfs, so feels good. Verdant. Is it a mirror of some kind? Did we get the mirror for the last round? No, so maybe Heliod. Push is interesting. I actually think I want to use the Terminate anyway, because then next turn I can play Tarmogoyf and Fatal Push. So I'll just Terminate that. Not the best use of a Terminate, but I think it's probably better than playing Goyf and letting the opponent have the 3rd mana. Reclaimer. Okay, that gets pushed. Thoughtseize is very interesting. But I think I want to be able to actually get a threat down here. So let's just cast the push and then play a Tarmogoyf. And then next turn I can Thoughtseize and Tarmogoyf again, unless I see some reason to use Kolaghan's Command. Dryad maybe? Elvish Reclaimer is going to make me think they're playing a Primeval Titan deck. Skyclave is annoying. Bolt is good, however. I think I want to just Thoughtseize here and probably just play another Goyf. They've got Coco, Dryad, Knight. I guess I'm taking Coco. It's the one card they can't cast, but it's also the card I'm just simply the most scared of. There's Knight. It's a 4/4, so unfortunately we cannot bolt it. We can, however, use both Kolaghan's Command and the Lightning Bolt to kill it, if we want to. That may actually be what I'm inclined to do. And I can also have the opponent discard a card. If they discard a Dryad, Tarmogoyf gets really, really big. I'm not so concerned about Skyclave attacking me. What would other mode on Kolaghan's Command be? I guess it would literally just be you discard a card, shock this. And I wish this were just a tiny bit smaller. I definitely want to get second red, and I guess more black, so I'm going to go down to 12 here to fetch shock and pay 1. Don't see a much stronger line. I don't want them untapping with this, that's for sure. Make sure to leave red available. Like they can discard a land here, but it'll still only be 5/5, which means Bolt still kills it. Smack for 5. I've got Peatland to hopefully try and reload. Sure. Sure, okay. They still have only 2 lands. The last card is Dryad. Inquisition takes the Dryad. I guess I should sacrifice Peatland first just to get some more info. Maybe there's a 2-drop that I want to play, but I almost definitely want to just Inquisition this. I guess I could make them think I got lucky. Hopefully we draw a Bolt. Hey, that's pretty good. So we can now Inquisition. I guess I want to attack first. Maybe the opponent makes a block based off of the assumption that their thing is gonna live. Or sorry, based off of the assumption that they have another Dryad and that their Elvish Reclaimer is gonna live. Like they might block with a Hierarch if they don't give me if I don't cast either of these spells quite yet. All right, let's do this. Take the last thing, and then if they draw a fetch land, this is gonna grow before I can kill it. So let's just kill it now. So now the big fear is Collected Company, which they rip off the top. Jeez. All right, well that was really, really bad. So now I need to find Bloodbraid, but I can't even cast Bloodbraid, so that doesn't work. Can I stop? I should really just close my mouth, right? Alright, so green, white, company, value town, shenanigans. Boil. Spell bomb. That's probably it. Cut some number of Inquisitions. Kolaghan's commands really do not look good here. I might actually just want the Inquisitions over the Kolaghan's commands. There have been Titanless versions and that I've seen. I don't think they're better than just like the Titan versions. And they do both get overall weaker without Field of the Dead, that's for sure. Don't think I want a Cleansing Wildfire. Maybe Wildfire is a real consideration because Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, might be something I'm interested in hitting. But putting lands into the opponent's yard like kind of actively helps a few of their cards. So that doesn't seem like something I'm actually interested in. But yeah, Bolt was my best rip, and then they just immediately hit the company, unfortunately. Yeah, this is good. I'll plan on getting, I guess, Stomping Ground. Maybe Blood Crypt is better. There's Valakut. Definitely going to play this Bob on 2 off of Swamp. So I guess I'll get Stomping Ground because that makes Blackleaf Cliffs the best potential draw. Decay is a good one. Yeah, die to a 10-10-9. That would be funny. We revealed a Fatal Push. Alright, so I think the line here is fairly straightforward. Attack, and then plus the Liliana, and hope they don't have an Obstinate Baloth. If they have a Baloth, I'll be upset. But it's hard to not just play the Liliana here. Let's ditch, I guess, Lightning Bolt. Hooray, they didn't have it. Bummer. I mean, I get to still just kill the Skyclave and continue attacking and add a 3/3 to my force. We reveal Denial Spellbomb. I mean, Liliana is probably going to be the better play here. It leaves me with a Liliana in play as opposed to not having Liliana in play. So this is going all right. I still have to be afraid of a Collected Company. Hooray, no Coco. That's bad for me too, but a lot less bad. Bob continuing to do well. Excellent, excellent. Alright, so I'll plus first. And then I might just ditch other Liliana. I want to keep all my spot removal, and then the ceiling on Boil is ridiculously high. I've got plenty of ways to kill stuff, so I'll just ditch other Liliana, I think. They discard a knight. Okay, here's a land. Do I want to just throw off a copy of Abrupt Decay? I think I do. I can then play a Spellbomb and hold up a Revolted Fatal Push. All of this seems good. Can't get Veiled now either, which is nice. We've got Liliana to Edict the next thing, and we've got more removal spells. So we should be good here. That's a good sign. Yeah, Dryad, I do get to just boil all the opponent's lands away. It gets dangerous with Valakut, however. The next land here represents Valakut. Brutal. Alright, well, because it's a fetch land, I kind of have to wait, right? I mean, I get to boil them. I mean, I guess I let this resolve, right? I mean, I guess I go for it end step, right? I can get basic Swamp, try to kill this thing, they'll fetch in response, kill something else. But if this dies, I don't get to boil them, right? So that's actually not what I'm interested in doing. Let's sacrifice this. Alright, then. Them responding is them probably attempting to kill Liliana. Yeah, I could pop Spellbomb. This is true. If I really wanted to use this mana here. Is that something I'm interested in? I mean, I don't see why not. I do need to find some action. But I actually think I shouldn't pop Spellbomb. Because I can pop Spellbomb to combine with Revolt next turn. Which means I don't have to blow the Terminate. And I think I'm more interested in that. Sick. Combo. How do you feel about one-sided Armageddon? I kind of like it. The opponent likes it too. I don't think I want to bring in other Inquisition. I could bring in the Wildfires because I am scared of Valakut. We saw it be good there. It sucks to have to feed Knight of the Reliquary and the 1-drop that becomes a 3/4. It sucks to have to feed those. And they could also just like tutor for it in a few ways, but it might just be better than something else. Let me think. Like, if we're playing like a classic mid-range battle where we're just both playing creatures and disruptive spells, then Bloodbraid is going to be pretty good. But this is a lot of high end. Maybe I shave one. Like, in a top deck war, which we may get to, this is going to be probably one of the better things to play. I mean, the opponent is playing Collected Company. I doubt they're playing Primeval Titan and lots of Disruption on top of Company. I don't think they're ever sideboarding out Collected Company. That seems impossible. Maybe it's better than a Lightning Bolt. It doesn't kill Dryad. It usually doesn't kill Knight of the Reliquary. It does kill the Elvish Reclaimer, assuming they don't have 3 lands yet. I think I'm happy cutting 1 Bolt. Maybe just a Kroxa. Both Bob and Tarmogoyf seem very strong here. This lets me keep all of my top end. I'm into it. Yeah, this hand is acceptable. We don't have a source of early pressure, which makes me nervous, but we do have a good source of pressure for later. They didn't have a 1-drop. I don't think there are any 2-drops I particularly care about. So this might just be a good time to get the Ravine down tapped. Having drawn 3rd untapped land, though, makes me maybe just want to play Spellbomb so I can just use my mana. I think that's the case. Had I not found an untapped land here, I think I would just be Ravining. Ooze. I mean, that's something that I'm maybe interested in pushing, which means I guess now would be a good time to play the Ravine, because I can push this, and then next turn whatever they play, Liliana can Edict. And I think I'll do it now in a consideration of Veil of Summer, but they didn't hold up Veil of Summer for a discard spell last turn, so I don't think they have it. But they're going to be 2 fresh cards in between now and then, so I should probably just do this now and avoid the blowout. I mean, if they've got the Veil to protect versus the Edict, for the 3-drop, they're gonna have to tap out for the 3-drop, and then for the 3-drop, and then the Liliana can still reach it. Ooh, Thoughtseize is good. I think I actually want to use Kroxa first and then Thoughtseize, because the turn coming up is the opponent's Collected Company turn, and if they've got one of those, I would really like to avoid it. So I'm going to Kroxa first, so the opponent discards, hopefully without the information, then I'm going to Thoughtseize them. And then I'm also going to hope they don't have a Baloth here, obviously. They've got a Baloth to be icky. Alright, they don't. Sick. Basic Swamp, Thoughtseize. Hope to see only 1 or fewer companies. 1 or fewer companies. Gonna take a brief moment to just appreciate the new old borders. They're so great. Alright, this looks like a good a turn as any to get the Liliana down. And then really hope that they haven't found another copy of Company. They discarded Forest. So this is their hand then. Do I want to just play other Spellbomb here? I think I actually wanted to sacrifice this Spellbomb with the intention of drawing a card. Next turn is very likely to be used escaping Kroxa. So my mana is kind of tied up anyway. I'd like to be able to hit their yards, that way when I escape Kroxa, things like Elvish Reclaimer and Knight of the Reliquary are at their worst. You don't like the gold ones? I like the gold ones just fine. I think the Terminate looks really good, but Terminate already has an old border. I mean, like, comparing old version of Gold Border to new version of Gold Border, I think they both look fine. And I think Terminate's a pretty cool example of how Gold Border is done well. Alright, so they played Plains. Hopefully they haven't found the Company in the 2 cards I don't know of. Maybe I actually do want to just play a Shockland tapped anyway. Like, if they've got a Company here, I may need to keep my life total high. Yeah. May come to regret this. Tarmogoyf is interesting. I think I want to plus first. MTGO uses the brown border. Disgusting. Hello. I'm about to hopefully get a 4-1.
Nice.
But I punted kind of the other match that I lost. Alright, so I definitely want to plus this Liliana, I feel. They unfortunately do have a path to exile. So maybe this turn is actually play my hand plus Liliana. Like, they'll path the Tarmogoyf. But I'd much rather they path the Tarmogoyf as opposed to pathing the Kroxa. So I think I actually like just playing my hand. And this also means that Liliana can continue being asymmetrical. So really hope they don't have a company. There goes the Valakut. I mean, in the event they do have a company, hopefully they don't also hit a Skyclave to remove Goyf. They don't have it. Oof. Let's say yes. I think I'm going to get basic Mountain. Mountain is going to let me escape Kroxa and hold up a Black Source for a Spell Bomb. And it's pretty possible I wanted to pop the Spell Bomb there while company is down. Because maybe they hit an Eternal Witness in response to me popping Spell Bomb, which would be bad for me. So maybe like a very, very tiny misplay. Judge, I want to demonstrate a loop. Ooh. I mean, I feel like it's got to be Kroxa here. So if I escape Kroxa and they've got another answer to it, I'll be pretty sad. But even if they have another answer to it, I get to just have this Dark Confidant on for following turns anyway. And I don't want this Elvish Reclaimer living, I don't think. So what I could just do is Edict them here, escape Kroxa, hope everything goes well. Yeah, Spellbomb for days. The other thing is that, like, if I plus this Liliana, we're on ultimate next turn. I really don't want this Kroxa getting purged or pathed, though, because if this Kroxa gets to stick, it's going to close the game within, like, 2 turns. I think I'm going to plus. I mean, what's the worst they can do with a Reclaimer for 1 activation? Famous last words. I'll ditch a Spell Bomb. It was a path. Okay. Doing everything right. Alright, and then I guess to keep Goyf's big, they've got instant. We want to keep artifacts. At least 1 artifact. Let's keep a land and a sorcery if we can. I guess we can't keep it all. I guess it's most likely for a land to re-enter the yard. So, I guess, oh wait, they have an instant, so I can discard, I get rid of my instant. What am I talking about? Okie dokie. You like draw with Spellbomb then decide? That's fair. That also would give me another piece of information on what I want to discard, right? Hey, they scooped. So we got the 4-1. Nice. So let's do a quick deck tech / summary for purposes of the recording. I'm very, very happy to be on my own version of Jund again. Pretty much every single time I played Dark Confidant, it was excellent. I boarded it out once versus the Prowess deck. But I mean, even against Prowess, something like Ren and 6, which would be the supposed replacement, I don't want to see that either. So, in the matchups where that slot was occupied by Dark Confidant, I am very, very happy it was occupied by Dark Confidant. Match 3, which was the loss, I kind of punted, but not really. Like the only reason I say I punted it is because I told my opponent basically that I didn't have a way to interact. Like, they could have just gone for the kill anyway, and it would have worked because I didn't have any more ways left over to interact. So maybe if I don't misplay, it still ends up the same. But that said, I do think I played at least the 3rd match pretty poorly. That said, disregarding the match that I played poorly, this list 4-0'd. I think had I played that 3rd match better, This could have very easily been a 5-0, assuming we get paired up against the same opponents round 4 and 5. All of the 1 mana removal spells felt very, very good. We played a lot of hyper aggro / creature combo decks, even qualifying Amulet Titan in that category, because we were able to kill Azusas and Dryads with all of the removal, and that all felt great. I haven't felt too overwhelmed with too many 1 mana spells. They've all just felt really good. I just find myself wanting more and more of them. And I think 1 mana spells like also serve to make Dark Confidant better, because it's pretty easy to double spell or even triple spell if a lot of what you're doing costs only a single mana. And it also helps to bring the curve down to make Dark Confidant's expected life loss value even less, which is another nice added bonus. I still really like the 3 copies of Kroxa. The Kroxas they weren't excellent this league, because I think we saw a below average number as compared to what I would usually find with 3 copies. But when I found it, they were at least good, but usually very good when I did find them. The 1/1 split of Abrupt Decay and Terminate actually worked very, very well this league. We were able to kill an Amulet of Vigor with the Abrupt Decay, which Terminate would not have, and then we're playing things like Terminate because it kills things like Stormwing Entity, whereas things like Abrupt Decay don't. So kind of cool that we found each of these cards in the spot that we wanted them. So a little lucky in that regard. But I still like playing a mix of Terminate and Abrupt Decay over something like Trophy, because in every situation where we used either the Terminate or the Abrupt Decay, giving the opponent the land would have been terrible, right? Because like the times when we were killing Stormwing Entity, the opponent only had 2 lands in play and they had like Lava Darts in their yard, which they could have very easily used that extra mountain to help leverage. And like we used the Decay to kill the opponent's Amulet of Vigor while they were only on their first turn. Well, they were on their second turn. So like giving the opponent a land would have let them Titan me before I was able to get the Damping Sphere down effectively. So we really, I think this league I think really showcased a few different things, and I think one of the bigger highlights is that Bob better than Ren and 6, and Terminate and Abrupt Decay better than Trophy. Obviously, like you're gonna need to pick your timing pretty well with Terminate and Abrupt Decay, and there is going to be a percentage of the time where like you want to kill an Amulet and you have the Terminate, or like you want to kill a Stormwing and you have the Abrupt Decay. But I think in the 50-50 chance that you have the wrong copy, it's still probably better to just have the wrong copy than to give your opponent a land when they really need it, which is very often. The Kolaghan's commands were pretty great. We played 3 today, as I did in the previous league, and they did pretty well for the most part. We played against a couple control decks and a couple decks sporting artifacts. We didn't see any of the Kolaghan's commands versus the Hardened Scales deck, unfortunately. It certainly would have helped, but would have loved to have seen them. So I mean, I think Kolaghan's command is pretty well positioned with all of the mid-range and more control-ish decks out there, and it's also a pretty great hedge versus the big mana decks, because like versus the stuff like Amulet Titan, you can kill the amulets, and then versus stuff like even Tron, you can shatter artifacts and pressure the opponent's hand, which can help leverage other things like Kroxa and Liliana. The sideboard I think was pretty good. I brought in everything at least once, and everything was just excellent. The Plague Engineer I think was the one thing that I used the most poorly, but it would have been better had I named Servo in game 1 of the Hardened Scales opponent. Otherwise everything did well. Like we brought in the Brutality versus Prowess in the control decks, and we brought in the Wildfires versus the big mana decks, we brought in the Boil versus the big mana decks, and just basically all of the Dryad decks. We also brought it in versus control. The spell elements were excellent. We brought those in pretty much every single match, and then the Damping Spheres did well versus the one big mana deck that we faced. So I mean, all in all, this sideboard did very, very well. Obviously, as in previous leagues, the sideboard isn't always going to line up versus the matchups that we actually hit. But in this 5-match series, this sideboard I think did very, very well, and it altogether resulted in a clean 4-1, which maybe could have been a 5-0 had I not been such a dingus in match 3. So that's it for this recording. If you're not already subscribed, you definitely should here on the YouTube or Twitch if you're watching live. And until next time, Jund 'em out.